Good morning, this is Chris with 400K First. I'm going to remind everybody again, I do this quickly, that the foundation is basically there's 400,000 kids born every day. It's 250 kids born globally every single minute, 16,000 every hour. It's basically 386. I rounded up here, and I think the kids should be first in what we do for leadership and stewardship, 400,000 K. So this is actually video 4 of 5, and where I left off at was discussing anthropology with this. And what's happened is that the new anthropologists that have gotten into the world since probably in the last 20, 30 years is they're creating a narrative that basically feelings like the LGBT, that they change over time and they can shift culture, which I think in some points is true. However, you have to ask, why is it that during the riots in 2020, why is it that the cities, they fell apart so fast? It just wasn't the BLM, but it's the social fabric that's been webbed into some of these liberal cities. We've got the LGBT. Again, we have a lot of diversity in a lot of cities. We have a lot of other issues plaguing the cities. But, you know, mayors pulled back the police, more money was put in, and then we continue to see these cities, Minnesota, Seattle, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., they were just the acceleration rate of how quickly these cities were going down, and this is 2022, we're still reeling from that. So part of my contention is there's not a lot of depth and fabric with things that are sewn in with the LGBT. When you compare that to a family with kids, schools, a community, hospitals, schools, and government that work without getting so caught up in identity things, that's really the way that society progresses. And when you get into these identity things that we're talking about, you begin to distract yourself away because the families really are the ones that are sowing in the roots, there's more integrity with what they do. And to bring this into perspective, what I want to do, and I'll try to bring this closer here, is I've taken what I consider 3 or 4 of the big top areas in terms of health issues we face as a society and civilization. The first one is the top 10 diseases. We have heart disease at the top, stroke, chronic obstructive pulmonary, lung. These are both things that came up during COVID. Diabetes, dementias, and Alzheimer's, intestinal viruses. These happen more in poor areas. Tuberculosis, cirrhosis, damage to the liver. Then we get into some of the physical disabilities, acquired brain injury, spinal cords caused by accidents, many caused by accidents, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, cystic fibrosis, epilepsy, MS, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, Tourette's syndrome, dwarfism. And then what I kind of get into, some of these issues, almost like in biblical times, have been with us for the dawn of man: blindness, deaf, mute, cleft palates. These are a host of issues that we as a society, I think, want to participate, want to help in. We need to add obesity to that. We know that that's a big thing. Then we get into some of the other current issues we have: autism, ADHD. We get into psychological issues of depression, anxiety, OCD, bipolar. And then we can get into people that are participating in roles of what I call recreational personalities or identities. And we see that with some of the LGBT, and it's almost like a psychosis. The way I want to lead you into this is that as we progress as a civilization, we work together, building things up, valuing some of these things, education, schools, our government, our health. Really what's been happening now and what's going on in digital media is that the shift in emphasis has been taken away from this, and we are so focused on some of the LGBT identities. We see what's going on with the schools, with all the variations. We can only thank Governor DeSantis, what he did in March 8th when he passed the Parental Rights Bill in education, and they really set the bar low. It's only for K through 3rd grade, which is 5 to 7 years old. And these are grades that the early childhood psychologists, both Erickson and Piaget, they know these kids at this young age, they're just beginning to think, to formulate how they think and so forth, and to bring in adult aspects of gender identity is just, it's something as a civilization we shouldn't be getting into. And then we have the things going on with Disney. I mean, just 2 weeks after that happened, on March 22nd, Disney came out and spoke out against what the governor did. And then we can fast track that literally 90 days. Today is June 22nd, and that was March 22nd that Disney came out. And this is June 22nd. On June 4th, Bob Chapek, the CEO, fired his executive who was going to take his position because he was going to continue on with the values of the LGBT and bringing this in. They've lost 35-40% of their stock value since that happened. So that was just 2 weeks ago on June 4th. So to get back in, I kind of mentioned earlier about we look at what happened in all the cities 2 years ago with all the riots and how quickly they decelerated. And we look with Disney again and the corporation, how fast did that happen? My contention with what I'm doing with 400K has always been, we're looking for stewardship and leadership. What I see there is it's just tangential. It's a sense of selfishness as people spending more time in their identity, which doesn't have a whole lot of depth to it. So I'm going to begin to wrap this up. And I think most people are kind of getting a sense where I'm going and where other people are going. But please, honor, and if you see value from this, subscribe and like it. This merchandise, One Planet, Two Sexes, when we're discussing civilization over 70 years, when we talk about the progression of man getting to where we are, and then we have gender variations that begin to distract us from some of our core things we do in society. I mean, who's going to care for these people and even the kids growing up in school if we're focused on adults that are pursuing recreational personalities? So fundamentally, come back to One Planet, Two Sexes. I've got some other merch that's coming out. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I hope you guys have a great day. And I may have show up, but we have a wonderful river scene out here, and you guys have a great day.